The countdown for Ninja Gaiden 4 is drawing to an end, but we have enough time to look at a few more games. And I so happen to find another smaller title that looks pretty neat. So let's check it out. This is Combat Overview. Here we go over the general controls, the main mechanics, who what we use them on, and then seeing how it all comes together. Now this is a defense focused game, so besides this string of punches, we don't have many offensive tools or options to speak of. No delays, no directional attacks, and no sub-weapons. It's pretty simple, and not much to go over as you'll see, but we do have the ability to swap colors on the fly, going from blue to red and vice versa. And so does your enemy. Now your current color is irrelevant when it comes to dealing damage or altering your moveset. None of that matters. If you want your parry to have any meaningful effect, however, then yeah, you must play along. But we'll get into that soon enough. Onto defenses, like I mentioned, is the main focus here. But even then, our options are quite limited. So we can parry with a single press of a button. It doesn't cancel attack animations, but it's pretty lenient. Can't spam it, obviously. That'll get you punished because of its recovery. But you can sort of press it earlier than you'll think and still work in your favor. However, there is a perfect parry if you time it as it's connecting or about to connect. One of the two. So yeah, it requires some level of skill to use. Non-cancelable has recovery if mistimed, but there's also just defense to reward your enemy knowledge. But it's not only about timing, but matching your colors as well. And that's because enemies change colors mid-combo. So you need to be quick and follow their lead. Luckily, there's enough windup to react to both their patterns and the color switch. Might seem like a lot, but it's pretty manageable when you get into the groove of things. Okay, I know I haven't mentioned why you should match colors to begin with, what's the reward for perfect parries, and what happens if you parry with the wrong active color. But we'll go over that in the next section. And to just wrap things up here, we also have a dash. Full iframes, but has recovery after every use. So again, requires timing. It's not seen as much in comparison, but it does come in handy to evade corrupted, aka unblockable attacks. So anything purple cannot be parried by either color. I've been playing Vasara lately and they also do the same exact thing, which is pretty interesting. But yeah, purple attacks are just an unstoppable force, it seems. So be sure to dodge them instead. Looking at the HUD, this white bar in the bottom left is our health. There's no healing items, but we actually regain health with each successful parry. What's even better is that you'll be fully healed as soon as the fight is over. So things are pretty lenient in your favor. Now to the left of that is our abilities. You can swap between them with the D-pad and activate with triangle or Y. These will either let you parry any color for a short time, a shoulder charge to both interrupt their attack and gain a bit of meter, or an AoE stun that also interrupts and lets you land a few hits, or to crowd control in general. Now these are finite because these white pips dictate how many times you can activate these abilities per encounter, so use them wisely. Alright, we can finally talk about this energy bar right in the middle of the screen. So everything we do revolves around filling this meter. That's our win condition. Because once full, you're able to release this built up energy to clear the room. Now we can get this done by landing basic attacks. Again, color doesn't matter in this instance, just land what you can between openings. But the more effective way to accomplish this is by landing parries. That's by far the best way to fill this gauge, especially perfect parries. And this is where color actually matters, because mismatching will not build energy and it will not refill health. However, it will negate all incoming damage if done properly. But you won't get any closer to winning this fight either. So parries done with the wrong color will just break even pretty much. Nothing lost, but nothing gained. But parries done with the right color will have all those benefits and more, so that's what we want to do in order to win. Okay, upgrades are also very simple. As you can see, the skill tree is pretty light on content. But alright, things are split in two halves. Top is only available to us after defeating a boss, and the bottom is for defeating regular enemies. So yeah, for every basic enemy we kill, we're given a skill point. But since there's not many stuff to buy, we have to collect 8 of these before we can grab something. Not only that, it's actually possible to miss out on fights. So if you run past a single enemy or didn't find them, then you can't complete the skill tree. But to make the most of these little tokens, pick up the extra ability point, counterattack, and max health upgrades. From my experience, those are by far the most useful. Now, bosses give their own XP points to either purchase or improve one of these skills up above. The AoE is probably the best of the three. The shoulder charge is a lesser version of it because it stuns for a shorter time in comparison. Plus, we can deal way more damage and gain more meter with the AoE blast instead. And they both interrupt too, right? So there's no difference in utility either. And the ability to parry without worrying about the polarity system is great if you're struggling with the whole color swap mechanic, but the game is pretty easy 90% of the time. So you should be fine without having to rely on this just to get by. And lastly, there's a few orbs lying around off the beaten path. Not hard to find, really. Just take a left instead of a right. The stages are linear enough where just hugging the wall will get you enough of these. And you should really make that effort too, because filling your punch card will improve your energy gain across the board. So, more energy means quicker wins. Yeah, that's a pretty good deal. So hug the walls. When it comes to enemies, the roster is quite small. There's like 6 enemies in total, but you only see half of them for the majority of the game. From this brawler, spider, and teleporting bomb. But only once we pass the halfway point do we get 1 or 2 new faces. And another thing, you will never fight more than 2 enemies at a single time. They do make an effort of having different team ups, but like I said before, the roster isn't large either. So possibilities are limited as well. Now, even though we don't have that many foes to battle, they at least have clear tells and consistent behaviors. So at a base level, they're enjoyable to engage with. For bosses, I won't go over in-depth strategies this time. I will say this though, there's a total of 6 bosses, all having multiple phases as we continue to track them down. And I also like how they change things up just enough. Some focusing on the basic melee swings or covering the floor to force movement. Another will use fog to obscure the next attack. And there's one with ghost hits. So they have this little visual trick to mess with your parry timing. Again, small roster, but they have interesting gimmicks to keep things fresh from start to finish. And that's Stray Delights. It describes itself as an atmospheric action game, and I agree. Because there's a clear focus on its presentation over combat mechanics. And it does that very well too. There is a few moments where you want to slow down and take in the view. Kind of impossible not to, because they crafted a really beautiful dreamlike world. You know, at times I feel like it's trying to replicate a Team Ico game. It's not as dreary as their stuff, but they share a similar goal of immersing you into this setting. And they both achieve this without spoken word, exploring ruins, having ambient music, and even the enemy designs visually are very similar, having these shadow-like beings. Could be a coincidence, but that's the impression I get anyways. Now, if that was their goal, I think they did a decent job, but there's room for improvement. Level design needs work, so does platforming, and there's no puzzles either. So it comes off as a walking simulator more than an adventure game. Again, I could be wrong, but it's hard not to see the similarities at times. Either way, they perfected their look. Combat, on the other hand, is simple, but enjoyable for what it is. And that's to give minor stakes to this journey. But there are a few awesome boss fights along the way. They must have known these were a highlight because we're given a boss rush mode as well. That's pretty cool. But to end things off, It's a short but sweet game that doesn't outstay its welcome or stretch the concepts thin. It gives you a brief experience that you can finish in a single setting, and that's something I really appreciate.